Okay, hi there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go over our notes for today. This is Thursday, February 28th. Your classes are pretty short today, but these notes hopefully will be just fine for you. Let's start with the warm-up. Which expression does not belong? Now, if you take a look at all four of these blue boxes, you can see that this is a binomial times a binomial. So we know how to multiply a binomial times a binomial. We're going to cut the first one in half, and then we are going to distribute it to the second one. Looks something like that. So we'll go ahead and distribute. This will give me 4c squared minus 2cd minus 2cd, and then plus d squared. Okay, so that's just distributing. We'll put our middle two terms together, and this gives me 4c squared minus 4cd, and then plus the d squared. All right, let's go on to the second one. We're going to do the same thing. We'll cut the first one in half, and we're going to distribute it to the second one. Okay, so when we do that, I get 4c squared minus 2cd plus 2cd, and then minus d squared. So here, those middle terms will cancel, and I have 4c squared minus d squared. All right, and the third one here, let's cut this one in half. We'll take it and distribute it to the second one. My first term will be 4c squared plus 2cd plus 2cd plus d squared. Middle terms again go together, and I get plus 4cd. Okay, and my last one here. Cut this in half, distribute. Looks something like that. Middle terms go together. So now that I've multiplied all these, which one doesn't belong? I would have to say that blue one right there in the middle doesn't belong. This guy is only a binomial. There's only two terms, whereas all of the rest of these are three terms. Those are trinomials. So that guy, that second one there is the one that does not belong. Okay, so let's recall what it means to square something. If I have 5 squared, that means 5 times 5, which of course you know is 25. If I have negative 3 squared, that means negative 3 times negative 3, which you know is 9. If I have x squared, that means x times x, and I can't evaluate that because I don't know what x is. If I have 4a squared, that's the same as 4a times 4a, which is 16a squared. Now, you might be saying, wait a second. You're going to have to wait. Now, you might say that, well, that's the outside power. So you could do the outside power, which we would raise this coefficient, and then we would multiply our exponents, and that gives you the same answer. Okay? All right, so those are all monomials. If we take a binomial, for example, this says a plus b squared, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot distribute that 2 in there like you do with monomials. You have to write this thing twice because squaring something means multiplying it by itself. Okay, so this is a plus b times a plus b, and you know how to multiply this. We're going to cut the first one in half and distribute it to the second one. And this is exactly what you were doing in that warm-up. Which will look something like that. I want to reiterate to you that you cannot tell me that if I have this a plus b squared, it's the same as a squared plus b squared. It is not the same. Do not make this mistake. Okay, so when a binomial is being squared, you must write it twice and multiply. In our case, we were distributing. Okay, so let's try some of those. All right, so I've got this 2x plus 1, so I'm going to write it twice. Okay, looks like that. And you're going to cut the first one in half and we're going to distribute it to the second one. And we're going to multiply. And that would be my final answer. Okay, let's do the same thing in number 2. You see it says 4x minus 3 squared. So I'm going to write it twice. And I'm going to multiply. We'll cut the first one in half, distribute it to the second one, and multiply. And that would be my answer. Okay, so for these next two, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write them out, and you're going to go ahead and solve them. So if I have 2x plus 5 squared, I'm going to write it twice. We're going to cut the first one in half and distribute it to the second one. And I want you to go ahead and finish it. Okay, and then for number 4, we're going to write that one twice. And I want you to cut it in half and multiply. So this is going to be our binder check for Friday, for tomorrow. So I'm going to make sure that you have all of these written out. Okay, and that means that 5 and 6 for you, these two are optional. If you want to do them, I'll give you an extra credit point for them. Okay, but those are going to be optional. So I'll give you a second here and pause the video and go ahead and work those out. Okay, let's take a look at the next section. We have these special binomials, okay, and these things are called conjugates. They're called conjugates. These are terms that are the same with opposite symbols in between. So take a look at the problems down there. You'll see that, like in number 1, it says x plus 3, x minus 3. In number 2, it says 5 minus 2k and 5 plus 2k. The binomials are the same, but they have opposite symbols. One's a plus, one's a minus. When you multiply conjugates, the middle two terms should cancel each other out. You know what opposite numbers mean, a plus 3 and a minus 3. Plus 3 and minus 3, they cancel each other out. It's like we did it when we did elimination with solving systems. You get those terms to equal 0 and they will cancel. So let's take a look at number 1. My first set of conjugates. You know how to multiply a binomial by a binomial. We're going to cut the first one in half and we're going to distribute it to the second one. When you do that, you get x squared minus 3x plus 3x and then minus 9. These guys in the middle, they cancel. They are opposites of each other. So my final answer then is now going to be a binomial of x squared minus 9. Normally when we multiply these things, we're getting trinomials, okay? But this time it is a binomial. All right, let's do the same thing with number 2. We're going to cut the first one in half and we're going to distribute. Looks like that. This will give me 25 plus 10k minus 10k minus 4k squared. Again, these two terms will cancel out in the middle, and that will be my final answer. If they don't cancel out and you have conjugates, then you did something wrong. Okay, so we'll just keep going through and distributing. My middle terms cancel because they were conjugates to start out with, and this is now a binomial. Okay, so go ahead and cut number 4 in half, and we're going to distribute. and you go ahead and work that out. Again, I will be checking on your binder check tomorrow to make sure these are all done so you get your full points. Okay, and then we have all of these 4 that are also conjugates. Okay, I'm going to do the first one, and then those last 3 are going to be extra credit for you. So if we multiply here, this will be 16, and this will be x to the 4th. X squared and x squared makes x to the 4th. The x squareds will cancel in the middle, and that will be my answer. So you have 6, 7, and 8 for extra credit if you so choose. All right, now we're going to talk about finding the area. Okay, if you take a look at these 2 problems, the first one we have a little square and we have a big square. So if I want to find the area of a square, we do length times width. So in this case, for this little square right here, this will be x minus 1 times x minus 1. And then for the big square over here, this will be x plus 2 times x plus 2. Okay, and that will need to be multiplied. Then once we find these things, we will add them together for a total area. So go ahead and multiply them out, please. Okay, I'll be looking for your work here. Pause this video and multiply both of those 2 things out. So you should have gotten that. And now when I combine my like terms, x squared goes with x squared. That gives me 2x squared. Notice I did not make that x to the 4th. Then I have minus 2x and plus 4x, which is plus 2x. And then I have this plus 1 and plus 4, which makes plus 5. So the final area of this would be that trinomial. Okay, last one over here. This time I have the little square being taken out. Okay, so I need to do the area of the big square. Well, if you look, it's x plus 2 times x plus 2. We already did that right here in the other problem. And this is what we got when we multiplied them out. So that's, I'm just going to basically rewrite it. I'm going to work smarter, not harder here. And then I want to subtract out the little box. You see the little box is x minus 1 times x minus 1. Well, we already did that over here. So we're going to subtract what we got for that little box. Now, I need you to understand that I put parentheses around this because I have to subtract the whole thing. Okay, when I combine my like terms, the x squareds will cancel. I have 4x minus 2x, which is a positive 2x. And then I have plus 4 minus, plus 4, we need to go back here. I had this plus 4x minus a negative 2x. So if you look, that's minus a minus. This is actually going to be 6x. And then I have this plus 4 minus a plus 1, which will give me a 3. So this would be the final area of just that shaded region. Okay, so that should be the end of my video here. Your homework will be posted on Classroom. And again, this notes check will be used for your binder check tomorrow. Again, I stress to you, I need to see your work for those problems, and you have extra credit if you want it. The extra credit does not have to be done for the binder check. The only problems that need to be done for the binder checks are the ones that you saw in these notes, and I asked you to work out. Thanks, we'll see you tomorrow.